Hello. So I have used Linux Ubuntu 1804.1 LTS for about a month, and I used it every day as my main system, and so far it has been working pretty good. Let's see, I have kind of a list on the issues that I had. And one kind of overall thing is when you search the web for support, the results are usually very old. They are many years old, sometimes up to 10 years old, and those things kind of doesn't work anymore. So I always have to sort, the search, for the searches for the last year or results for the last year or the past year, and I get better results. So that's kind of one weird thing. That might be a Google thing, I don't know, but and another thing that people might actually forget, and that's about the NVIDIA drivers. So to get the latest drivers, you go to this software and update, and usually you just go to the additional drivers here and you pick sort of the latest one, but the latest one usually doesn't show up. So what you have to do is to go to other software here, and I have already added this, but you click add here and add a repository. So ppa graphics drivers, and then you add source, and of course you need to update everything, and you will have this, I don't know where it is at the moment, let's see, yeah, over here, this one's. And the next time you kind of reload this, next time you go in here, you will get more updated drivers if you have an NVIDIA card. And I have to use this because otherwise the system will freeze up, because normally you get these Nouveau drivers and they kind of suck for me at least. So the first thing I do is to just add these NVIDIA drivers. And the second thing I do with those NVIDIA drivers, you get this NVIDIA X service settings, and you go to the X server display configuration, and here you can see I have 2 monitors, and I go to advanced and I activate this force composition pipeline on both monitors. Why do I do that? Well, if I use Chrome, the web browser, and scroll and watch videos, I get a lot of so-called screen tearing. It's like the video is kind of cut in half and it's slightly out of position. You know it when you see it, and this kind of helps doing that, but you can't just activate this and apply. You need to save this as well, because otherwise this setting will be reset when you start the computer. So that's kind of the second thing. I still have some issues when it comes to watching videos, especially if there's a lot of movement in the video. There's not so much screen tearing, but it's like the video is played at 10 to 15 frames per second. It looks a bit weird, but it's not a killing thing that I just, I gotta switch to Windows again. No, it works. Yeah, usually on Twitch streams works just fine. So I don't know if it's kind of a YouTube thing, because in Chrome you have a hardware setting. It will use hardware acceleration, so I don't know if that's kind of doing things in Linux. It works just fine on Windows, but on Linux I have issues with that. Other issues that I had was 1 or 2 times when I did the updates, the regular software updater. I did update the things, and when I rebooted, it somehow broke a couple of softwares and didn't work anymore, so I had to uninstall it, remove the repository, reboot the computer, and then install it again, and then it suddenly worked again. Same thing with Chrome, also broke one time. They changed something and I had to do the same thing, but it only happened once, so yeah. Kind of weird thing, but it only happened like twice in a month, so it's not a sort of a deal breaker. Network speed, and it has to do with the transferring files between computers. And when I sort of transfer files to my Linux server, I have a gigabit network and I only get about 60 megabytes per second max speed transferring files. When I transfer files from my Windows PC to that Linux server, I get at least 100 megabytes per second. So there's some weird speed limit there. And I don't know how to solve that. And also when it comes to networking, when I have a shared folder on my Windows computer, but I can't access that shared folder on my Linux machine. Nothing shows up. I can access the Linux server, so the share there, but not on the Windows PC. But I have a shared folder here on my Linux machine, and the Windows PC can access that. So, and that's another weird thing. When I transfer files from my Windows PC to my Linux machine, Linux decided to set those files as or the owner to root. So I can't do anything with those files with my account. So I had to open like the Nautilus. I open terminal and just open Nautilus. I can open, for example, Nemo. Here's another thing. So it's kind of a Nemo thing. You can right click on a folder and you have properties and go to permissions. And you can set it to the owner. That was already set to me, and you can set it to apply permissions to enclosed files, so that it will do the permission on all the files and folders in here. But it doesn't work in Nemo. I have to do it file by file. It's really annoying. So I have to use the Nautilus file manager instead. Kind of a weird thing. But it works if I use Nautilus. I don't really like Nautilus because it's kind of too simple. I like Nemo file manager better. And then I have, it's actually, I don't know if this will crash things. If I start it up, no, it seems to work now. This pulse effects, it's you have this, I have an equalizer. It's not active now when I use OBS. OBS is actually acting up a little bit when I use this software, but it's an equalizer I use in here, and I have different presets as well. And the nice thing is that it will actually, you can set it up so that it will start a login. I have turned it off because of OBS. So that it automatically kind of starts up when you log in. And I also enable all applications, so all applications can use it. But it doesn't really work with OBS, and it doesn't work with Minecraft either. Kind of a weird thing, but for the most part it works. And I used to have another equalizer called Pulse Audio-EQ. It's also a global setting for everything, but it didn't work properly with the audio system, because when I went to the sound setting here, when I rebooted the computer, it was automatically set to pulse effects or the pulse EQ, and it still didn't work, so I had to reset everything here and do a bunch of things. But pulse effects work a lot better, and it have also a bunch more other stuff here as well. But I only use the equalizer. And here's another thing that's kind of annoying with Linux. For the most part, in Windows, when you kind of move it around and when you resize it like this, it will remember those settings. It doesn't work the same way in Linux. You see, when I close this one and then open it again, it's like this again, and it's kind of put it randomly. And if I have a different window open, it will put it in the top left corner all the time. So that's kind of weird. The only software is Chrome that actually remembers the window size and position. And also Nemo and files, if you have it maximized. That's kind of a weird little thing. What else? Software Center, as I call it. It's just called software, and you can get a lot of software from here. Just search for it, for example, Spotify over here. And you can see, here's one example, you get two options. Spotify here and Spotify here. So which one should you install? I don't know. And same thing with VLC, I think. And here you get 1, 2, 3, 4 options. And apparently I have 2 of them installed. And there's a new thing with Ubuntu, is called snaps or snap. If I go in here, you see it says source snap store and a snap, and it's kind of a new way of distributing software on Linux, and it's supposed to be working really well between different distributions of Linux. But the thing with Snap software is that it loads really slow. Sometimes it can take like 30 or 40 seconds to start something. And if I look in here, you see there's a folder called Snap, and in here are the Snap apps. So Discord is a Snap app, also the calculator, the system monitor, Spotify. The only one that loads really fast is the Sublime Text, it's a text editor. But otherwise, just the calculator. I have an NVMe drive, so everything starts really fast, but if I just open the calculator, now it loads fast for some reason. Maybe I just used it before, but Spotify, for example, it's like takes forever for it to start. Oh, there we go. Takes forever to start. So yeah, they're kind of a weird thing. And there's another thing called Flatpaks. I don't remember which one of these it was, but I think it should be saying Flatpak somewhere as a source. Well, somewhere at least. I got one Flatpak, I think. They work a lot better, actually. So I think it was the well, it was a sort of background wallpaper app. So that, yeah, that's kind of the thing, that you have Snap and Flatpak sources, because the PPAs, the repositories, when you start to install a lot of software, the repository file list or PPA list will be really long, and it takes forever to search for them when you want to update some software. So that's why they are trying to move to Snap and Flatpaks, and Snap, I think, is just crap. Snap is crap. So Flatpak seems to work better, but there are some issues with Flatpaks. Sometimes the software doesn't work, so yeah. But overall it works pretty good. Yeah, and there's a lot of things that I kind of like. I have a Linux server, as I said before, and I mostly use it as a Minecraft, or use it for Minecraft server. And the nice thing is that most of the software are kind of built in, and they kind of work together. So if I want to connect to the server and controlling it, I can just use terminal. I don't have the server on right now, but you just type SSH and then the account or user account and then the IP number to the server, and you can control it from there just by in terminal. I don't need PuTTY or anything, so that's kind of a nice thing. It's really easy to use, and most things works actually, and I haven't really installed that much yet. Let's see, I got trying out the GIMP. I got Discord, it works. Here's the Hydra paper I use. You can have different wallpapers on different monitors. Kind of a nice thing. I have Krita. It's a software or image software. It's like Photoshop, but a lot more simple version of it. Megasync is a cloud storage, you know, like Dropbox, OneDrive. The advantage with Megasync is that everything that is stored in the cloud is encrypted, and Megasync as a company doesn't have access to the encryption keys. There's no master key or anything like Apple have. They have like a master key for everything, but yeah, everything is encrypted by default in the cloud, and you also get 50 gigabyte storage for free. Usually it's like 15 gigabyte on Dropbox and Google Drive. And this Megasync actually also works on Linux. I think Dropbox also works on Linux. OneDrive doesn't. It used to work, but it doesn't anymore, I think. What else? Minecraft, yes. Games actually works on Linux a lot better now. And there's a project that works. It's Steam, I think, have it. So a lot of more games works natively on Linux. So you don't have to do some wine hacks or whatever. So a lot of the games that I use normally works on Linux. I mostly play Minecraft, and then I have Cities, Skylines, also Euro Truck Simulator also works on Linux. And of course Oracle is a virtual sort of machine like VMware, but this is free. Pinta is also a image software, and it's like if you use the paint.net on Windows, you know how it works. Pinta is basically the paint.net for Linux. And Pulse Effects, then you got a bunch of other software that's built in. Rhythm Box is for music and stuff. Simple screen recorder, I tried it out, but right now I use OBS because the mic volume on simple screen recorder is very low. Of course Spotify works. The only thing that I actually use Windows for the most part is Adobe software. I use Adobe Acrobat Pro to create PDF files, and you have this simple scan on this one, but those file sizes are huge. They are 10 times larger or bigger than the Adobe PDF, because Adobe actually optimized the documents a lot more. So that's why I use Windows for the Adobe products. Same thing if I want to do more advanced stuff with Photoshop, I use Windows for that. And yeah, I got a couple of Sublime Text, better text editor, and VLC. Otherwise I don't really use that much. I use Transmission once, and that's a torrent application. And no, or yes, torrents are legal. It's just what you kind of sharing that is the problem. If you share video or movies, that's illegal. But just transferring ISO files or whatever, that's just perfectly legal. And also I got the GNOME tweaks, and I installed the Arc theme. So I use the Arc Dark here. And also I don't like the black cursors, so I installed sort of Windows cursor pack. And also installed the new Ubuntu Community theme icons and stuff. So that's why things like, you know, files and the system settings might look a bit different, like the settings here and stuff. And then I also installed a font and the Segoe UI, and that's actually the default font in Windows, and I like that a lot. And it doesn't come by default. I don't think you really can download it either. So what I did was, when I was on Windows, I went to the fonts folder and just copied that font and saved it somewhere else, and then I just installed it here. So yeah. And of course I did some other settings here. For example, I have a couple of extensions, you know, the dash to dock, so that I can have the taskbar, as I call it, at the bottom, and you can change the icon sizes and stuff. And also some kind of other extensions. For example, up here I have the temperature, so I can see the temperature easily on the CPU, and also the how much it will use. So yeah, and I didn't really do much here. Yeah, top bar, I added the date, seconds, and week numbers as well. And on Windows, by default, the maximize and minimize are disabled, so you kind of need GNOME tweaks to add those in the first place. Otherwise, you just have the close button. And then I also did a little bit of a tweak Normally when you have a software open like this and you click the icon, nothing happens, but I made a tweak so that if I click on it, it will minimize. So that's kind of a fun thing. But for the most part, everything works just normally. It's just a couple of things that I do, and the other kind of problem that I have with Linux is that it comes to this sound. You can see this other here, it says Sound Blaster Audigy series, and I have an old sound card, and it's actually not even PCI Express, it's the old PCI standard. But this card have an external box, and in that box there's a headphone amplifier and a digital in and out, also a regular analog in and out, and a bunch of connections to it. But the problem is in Linux, there's only 2 ports on that. It's the digital output and an analog output. That's it, no more. Yeah, I think I got only the digital input on it and the microphone. No line in or whatever. So that's kind of weird. It works just fine in Windows because I have drivers for it, and I got a gazillion connections in Windows that I can use for this card, but not on Linux. Same thing with the built-in on the motherboard. Kind of got only one output, and that's a digital, and then of course the headphones. Weird. So yeah, but otherwise it works just fine for the basic daily stuff. I can play Minecraft. Of course, you need to what I do, the Java that comes with Ubuntu, I think it's called Open Java. It's kind of an open source stuff, but that version that is included in the operating system in Ubuntu, and there's some kind of bugs in there, and it kind of have issues with the Minecraft server, the spigot. But I never ever used that open Java. I just use the Oracle Java and install it manually. I have no issues with that. So even the new Minecraft launcher works here, but it's kind of small window, but yeah. For a daily usage, it works just fine. Some minor glitches here and there, but they are not deal breakers. I can still use it because why I switched a month ago to Linux is that Microsoft having some serious issues with their updates, especially the major updates. They call the October update, or 1809. First of all, it started to delete files for people and stuff, and and then there were some other bugs. I had some issues with having set the default software for different files. Didn't work. It was always resetting to Microsoft's own apps. Really annoying. And then there were some issues with network drives. They were disappearing for people and didn't reconnect when logging in, and what's on it. God, they have so many issues. So I'm actually going to run Linux as my main system right now, and I just have Windows as kind of a backup system or whatever. So I have Windows also installed on this machine, but on a different drive. And I also have Windows on my notebook, so they are kind of a backup system. But I use Ubuntu Linux as my main system. And yeah, if you go over here, details, here you can see it's Ubuntu And it's the LTS version, and that stands for long-term service. So you got 5 years support for this. Normally you get like 9 months, but the long-term support is 5 years. But they will, every 2 years, they will update this LTS. So the next LTS version will be year 2020. So it will be named 2004. So I will be updating to that one next time. So there you can see my CPU and my graphics card. Yes, I have a really old graphics card, but still works for the things I do. So yeah, a little bit of a long video, 30-minute video about that, but yeah, that's what I got now. So we'll see if I do this every month. It depends on how everything works. But so far it's working pretty good actually. So yeah, see you later.